Those chill guys at Linkin Park sure know how to hang. But are they slop or not? Now, what do we need to figure out? First, what is slop? Second, how to detect slop? Third, how much of Linkin Park's catalog is slop or otherwise? Fourth, if Linkin Park's talented. And then finally, we're going to conclude with if you are going to think they're slop or not. So first, let's get right into it. What is slop, right? Slop, we have music matrix, energy from 0 to 11 on that axis. On this axis, catchiness from 0 to 10. Energy is kind of synonymous with intensity, right? Is it more or less intense, right? And then catchiness and kind of memorability, right? Forgettable, highly memorable. It's so catchy, it sticks with you, right? So that's kind of the idea. Now, if something's less than a 7 catchy, it's in the slop zone. So things, unless you're a fan, you're going to call it slop, right? If you're a fan of punk, it can be less than a 7 catchy, and you would say, well, it's punk. It's good for punk. It's good punk. But if it actually was good punk, people would just call it rock, and you'd call it rock, right? So things either get called pop or rock if they're catchy, depending on how energetic or how intense they are. If they're sufficiently catchy or memorable. If they're actually catchy and actually memorable, they're called rock and pop. Otherwise, they get called this by their fans, but everyone else calls it slop. So this is the slop zone. Now, how do we detect energy? That's pretty easy, right, for the slop. Is 0 to 3, tends to be, puts people to sleep. They're going to bed. Jazz to wind down for the night, that kind of thing. 3 to 7 kind of makes people dance, right? And then 7 to 11 kind of makes people want to get into a fight, lift weights, go into a mosh pit, etc. But how do we figure out if something's catchy or not? Because there's a lot of things that go into catchiness. So this is second. Now that we know what slop is, less than 7 catchy, we're going to figure out how to detect slop. The number one way, we have the catchiness index here, right? And so what we're looking at is you're going to see that predictability is our number one way of getting a gist for if something's catchy or not. And then we're going to bring this back to how this relates to Linkin Park and how Linkin Park ranks. It all relates to Linkin Park, but how do they rank on this, right? So first we're going to start with predictability. If it's something sufficiently corny, like a Joe Bonamassa song, and it's completely awful, it's definitely slop. If it's completely incoherent, like a Mars Volta song, then it's also complete slop. If it's in between Back in Black being, balanced, as an example, and Bohemian Rhapsody by Queen being zany but not like losing all sense of momentum and potency and memorability. It's zany and memorable. This is predictable and memorable, right? So that's kind of the idea, right? So just because you're in the money zone here, though, doesn't mean you're not going to be slop. You can still be slop. Look at this whole area. You can also just be for fans of that genre or fans of that band, right? If you're in the money zone. But you can also now, you have the possibility to be a hit quality song. So that's what's important. Also smash hit if you're careful. Just because something became a hit, hit quality is different from something having became a hit. We're going to move on to the catalog audit, which is how much, the third thing, now that we know what slop is and how to detect it, we need to look at how much of Linkin Park in particular, how much of their catalog is slop. But click disclaimer. Hit quality music means, so let's look at this. So first, let's look at the OnlyFans model. That's where we're going to start with. OnlyFans model, this is the relative ratio of unlistenable music, stuff that everyone's going to listen to, stuff that the fans will get a lot of usage out of listening to. So that's kind of the breakdown, right? And so OnlyFans, clearly they have very little hits and very little complete garbage, and mostly just stuff that the fans are going to love. So Motorhead, Slayer, Frank Zappa, if you love thrash metal, you're going to get a lot out of Slayer. If you're just a regular rock listener, just a person who likes music, you're probably not going to get nearly as much out of Slayer, unless you kind of like metal. And then you might get a little more. But if you really like thrash metal, you're going to get a ton out of it. So that's kind of the idea. Versus a hit or quit, doesn't matter what you like. Weezer or Queen, you're going to get a ton of mileage out of the hits and no mileage out of anything else. And then even for the stuff that you would say is for fans of Queen and Weezer, it's actually so good that it's at least a 7 in memorability. It's really good. There's like 800 Weezer songs I could sing to you right now. I can't say the same for Slayer and Motorhead. You know what I mean? They've got good stuff. But, it's just different, right? And then here's a 50-50 where, like, let's look at Led Zeppelin, Nine Inch Nails. Let's say 3 albums of undeniable hits, pure hits, iconic, everyone's going to love them. 3 albums of stuff that fans are going to love. And then 3 albums of stuff that everyone's skipping. No one's listening to that. So I would say it's about a 50-50. That's like, Nine Inch Nails, Led Zeppelin. And then classic catalog is the Beatles, Metallica, Daft Punk, Rage Against the Machine, where it's almost entirely stuff that everyone's universally going to say, that's really catchy. Even if I don't like that genre, man, that's good. They're either going to call it rock or pop, right? Enter Sandman, though it can be called a metal song, it also gets called a rock song, right? And so you kind of see that with the hits in any genre, they get called rock and or pop, right? If they're sufficiently hit, you know? So where does Linkin Park go? So Hybrid Theory is amazing. Meteora is amazing. Really, I think I wouldn't go, I'm not the biggest Linkin Park fan, so I'm not going to go classic catalog. And in general, it's a little ostentatious, but it's definitely better than this. I'm going to say it's above 50-50. This is a less than 50-50. You take the line. So if the line's flat, that means even. If you go down, that means less than good. If you go up, that means more than half. So if you look at like this for Linkin Park, most of it's really good hits, quality, right? Then there's a good bit that is going to be stuff for the fans that maybe not everyone's going to like, and then there's stuff that no one's liking. But that's very little of Linkin Park. Most of it's really good stuff that everyone's going to like. So because of that, because they have one of the favorable ones, a classic catalog, greater than 50-50, you're not going to get much controversy in people saying, oh, it's slop or it's not slop. People are probably going to say it's either rock or pop, but that's based off of the catalog, based off their talents and their distribution. This also can cause a problem, right? Because these are three different buckets of things that people sometimes only care about one of these and don't care about the other, right? So this musicianship bucket doesn't necessarily mean that they're good musicians or bad musicians. It means, do people go, oh my God, you've got to check out this band. The guitar work is amazing. Like Extreme is a band like that. Most people don't go, oh, I love Extreme. They go, I love Nuno Bettencourt, therefore I love Extreme, right? I love Les Claypool, therefore I like Primus, right? Oh, you know what I mean? And so that kind of thing where a band might not have the greatest song writing or the most, impressive brand, but the virtuoso-ness of the music. And, oh my God, I want to learn how to do that because I heard that song. It's so cool. Linkin Park does have that, though. They do have that. Some people like, the guitar stuff, though I think the riffs are like, not like the most like, oh my God, I've never heard that before. It's not like Van Halen one when you hear the guitar riffs, but the vocals, Chester, that stuff on the music side really left an impact on society and people today. Like when they hear it for the first time, they go, wow, I need to learn to do that. Like, I'm really excited. I want to drop everything and like Google, how do you do that? How do I do that? And practice and like, oh my God, that's crazy. So that's a green right there. Brand, historical, present impact, good, but aesthetic, stage design, outfits, it's all boring and bland. The merch is okay. The album art is okay. Like they have a little bit of an aesthetic, but they're going to get a yellow from me here. They're not getting a red. Red means it's total dog water, right? The reason they're not getting a green in brand is because to get a green in brand, you got to think like this is for like the person who is like completely not even listening to the music. They just go, oh, that's a t-shirt with that skull. I love Misfits. They're a really good clothing brand. Like Kim Kardashian being like, I love Metallica. They're a great clothing brand. I love their t-shirts at Walmart. It's like, that's kind of the person. So I don't think Linkin Park's merch and like thing is there. Though they do have really big aura from all the other stuff in brand. They're like merch and like the stage design. It's like it's not really as memorable, right? It's not like Kiss or Metallica or like I'm gonna buy it with a lunchbox, right? They're not quite there. So they're yellow in that they're there, but their songwriting's great. So they get like green, yellow, right? So in general, they are pretty talented, and everyone's going to be unanimous about that. So because they're talented and they have a really good catalog, most of it is hit quality or stuff that's really good for fans. They don't have a lot of slop, and they don't have very radically, divided skill levels. So because of that, people are going to tend to agree. So what I'm going to think about Linkin Park, what you're going to think about Linkin Park, though it might like differ slightly, it's going to differ exactly like that, slightly. It's not going to differ a lot, right? And so that's why it's really interesting to look at those things, because with other bands, they don't do that, right? And so that's where it's interesting with Linkin Park. This is one of those bands that, though, I think probably a lot of people are going to say they're good. They're like, oh yeah, they're a good band. Yeah, I love a bunch of Linkin Park songs. They're not going to be like, they're my favorite band. But the people who also go, they're my favorite band, like, they're not going to ever really get into an argument because everyone's going to kind of have the same opinion on them. Maybe it's not my cup of tea, But like, I'm not going to go like they're bad. You're like, well, no, they're not. I mean, I like they're not bad. I might just like get bored of them. But then again, you can get bored of things just because you've heard them a million times. They can be incredible, and then you take a year away from hearing it, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, and you go, oh my God, this is amazing again. It's like sometimes you just get overexposed. But yeah, people aren't really disagreeing about Linkin Park, and that makes sense, right? This is what kind of you would if they were really good at branding and then bad at songwriting or bad at musicianship, you would expect opinion to be more split, right? Or if their catalog was really inconsistent, like David Bowie or Limp Bizkit, you would expect people to be more divided. But not here. So most people, when they go, are they good, are they bad? They think of their top 10 songs. They think of generally what do I think they are in terms of energy and catchiness, generally, for most of their songs. And they don't actually mean most. They think generally, and which means the 10 songs I remember, which is the 10 songs I like the most, because those are the only ones I remember. So here are mine. I've become so low, I can say yeah, and in the end, doesn't really matter. And one step closer to the edge, and I'm about to break, and in no time away. You're not here for singing tutorial. Crawling in my skin, it's worse I will. I actually have too much congestion. Crawling in my skin, it's worse I will. It's not happening today vocally, but it's a good song. It's a very good song. Numb. I've become so low I can see you. Man, the fry. Not in me. Under the surface, right in front of you. Part the undertow is part the undertow. 'Cause every second I waste is another mistake to you. Anyways, somewhere I belong. Paper cut. Burn it down. What I've done. Transformers meme. Bleed it out. Overall, extremely catchy, extremely poppy. If anything, they're poppier than more than they are. People go, oh, they're metal. It's like, honestly, they're at like a 6.8 on energy, so kind of like punkier. But they're 9.2. They're really poppy. They're really catchy. They're a really catchy rock band that has a little bit of an edge to them, right? They kind of get up here, or what did I say, 6.8? They get to this, like, they go from here and here, so they're in this punk metal range, right? But on average, like, they end up being here. Now, here's the thing. Then their other songs go down here, and the rest of their catalog goes up in here. And so if you had to average the entire catalog, but see, like, this stuff is still, like, above a 5 and a 6. Like, this is, fans are going to like all this stuff that's in this range, you know what I mean? And so it's all mostly, like, hit quality stuff up in here, rock and pop, and some of it is just stuff that the fans are going to like. So this is why I'm saying, like, the catalog's like that. So because of that, everyone's going to, on average, if you average the whole catalog, it's still probably a catchy band. Like, that is still a rock band. Like, that's why people call them a rock band. Some people call them metal because they have some metal parts or metal, songs. But in general, they're more of a rock band. Yeah. If anything, the reason I actually don't listen to Linkin Park a lot is because they're at a 6.8 here. And I would just rather listen to rock songs that are up here that are just harder rocking and catchy, right? I would just rather, I guess harder is the wrong word, higher intensity rock, right? That's what I prefer over lower intensity rock. But I don't really complain about Linkin Park because good. It's good. Anyways, let me know what you want to see next video. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you. Oh, if you're Latina, hit me up. Anyways, I'll see you in the next video. Who is it on? Oh, it's the Pixies. Yay.